Right, I'm here at Warrington Town Hall for my annual catch-up with Warrington Borough Council Chief Executive Stephen Broomhead. Good to catch up again, Stephen.
Yeah,
I believe this must be about 10 years plus now.
I think we've done it for about 10 years, Gary, yeah.
Yeah.
Time flies when you enjoyed yourself.
Well, it's been quite a challenging year, I'm sure, for Warrington Borough Council. As always, each year for the last several years, we've talked about the austerity and all the cuts the council have had to make. You're right into the bone now, you've mentioned that before. How much more austerity is the council facing?
Well, the Chancellor's budget statement last week was not particularly very good for local councils like Warrington. There were some crumbs, but unfortunately the austerity continues, and therefore we continue to have to make some difficult decisions around local services. We also, as you are aware, Gary, want to be creative in a managed way, thinking about the risks about raising money from other sources. So it's easy in this job, to know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. But actually, it means we've got to be creative about how we respond to austerity and ensure we raise money to make sure local services continue.
Well, when you talk about investing in things, there have been some controversial investments that have happened recently. Some people have questioned the investments in Birchwood Park and Redwood Bank and things like that. I mean, particularly when it gets mentioned about offshore accounts and things like that. I mean, it hasn't gone down well, particularly in the Labour Party, some of these investments. When I say the Labour Party, the Labour supporters, what's your view on those sort of investments?
Well, I can't comment politically on how people react to such investments. I mean, we've done nothing wrong, hence why our external auditors have been with us all the way. We took a lot of advice about the investment in Birchwood, and the investment is there for a return. So we invest money from our capital programme for a return, which helps us with austerity. It was tax efficient, it was not tax evasion, but I understand people's concerns ethically about these matters, and I'm sure in the new year our politicians here in Warrington want further discussions. Indeed, they may decide to bring it back on shore.
Right, oh well. Watch this space in the new year then. And these investments, I mean, the council's made numerous over the years, and we always sort of read the negative headlines where money's being cut and everything, but we never seem to see anything that says where this extra money goes when it comes in.
Well, obviously we have budget reductions and we have pressures on our services to adult social care, which the government has not done a very great deal to help actually. So overall, the additional money we gain from investments is there to replace the money we're either losing or additional pressures on the service. I would estimate over the last 2 years, by all the activities that we've made in terms of investments, it's generated the best part of about £10 million we wouldn't have had. That's £10 million we would not have had to spend on services. And those services would either have been curtailed or would have been reduced and possibly even abandoned entirely.
Right. Okay. Right, well, there's been some controversial issues this year, apart from those investments we've talked about. I'll start on the local plan and the preferred development option, 20-odd thousand new houses in Warrington, thousands of them on greenbelt land. It's caused a lot of controversy. More recently, we've had the government come out and the Prime Minister herself saying we shouldn't be developing on greenbelt. So how are you going to get around that one?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, it's not thousands of houses on greenbelt, Gary. I mean, the greenbelt will have to be considered. I mean, first of all, there's a plan. Every local authority in the country is developing a plan. The government wants us to build, but certainly the Prime Minister doesn't want us to build on greenbelt. Something has to give somewhere because we run out of brownfield land quite quickly. We've built a lot of houses on brownfield land already in Warrington. So it's a difficult issue. There's a plan, but there's also a housing market. If the economy post-Brexit begins to fall or stall, we might not see the number of houses you've talked about actually being built. But we do have to have a plan. We recognise it's a very controversial issue for people. The green lungs of the town need to be protected in all parts of the town. And certainly we will be really careful and sensitive about when we make decisions on planning about where those housing investments are to be made. But we've just got to be realistic about it.
Well, I know we've got to be realistic, but we also have to be realistic about how the infrastructure can cope with this. And it always seems to be, let's build all these houses before the infrastructure's even being put in place.
Gary, I think we've shown, we're trying to dovetail both housing and infrastructure. So the Western Link proposal, all the road schemes we've put in place, Junction 8 improvements. We are concentrating at the same time investing in our road systems, our rail systems and our public transport systems to make sure the housing numbers, if they materialise, are in parallel.
When you say if they materialise, do you think there could be some change in the future?
Well, there's a plan, which obviously has been controversial, but there's also, I would say, a housing market which could change dramatically if the economy begins to stall post-Brexit. No one knows, there are uncertainties. I'm not saying it is going to stall, but there's a plan and then there's a market.
Well, certainly up at Grappenhall Hayes area, a lot of these houses which are proposed now were meant to have been built probably 10, 15 years ago, but there was a change in the housing market situation.
Yeah, there was indeed, and I think that's what people have got to think about. But we have to plan on the basis of what we know now.
You mentioned the Western Link, so that's another hot potato at the moment. I mean, you did all the consultation, the red route was chosen with some amendments to it, and in the build-up to it all, it was saying that it was the most cost-effective, and then it comes to exec board, and hey presto, the price is inflated. So really, should it not be a case of going back to the drawing board and having another look at it? Because
I mean, all we're doing, Gary, is building a business case to put to government. We have to get the money from government before we even consider building this road. It's the business case we're building. There were some cost estimates that changed, particularly around blight, those houses that may be affected by the road if it is built. So we're still very much building the business case for it. We have made the submission, wait to hear from government whether they're going to support it. But I would say to the people who oppose the red route, what's your alternative? Do you really in 10 years' time feel that Bridgefoot is going to cope with the capacity of the traffic that's most likely to be there then? What is your alternative? We consulted and we thought the red route was the best of the alternatives we put forward. It only affects 4 properties and 2 businesses. We've tried very hard to make sure there's a minimisation of impact on the environment and blight on people's houses and their lives. So we'll wait and see. I just hope the government do support this bid, otherwise we are faced with some major difficulties in the future about traffic in the town.
well, certainly the traffic issues are causing major pollution issues, aren't they, in certain areas of the town?
Yeah, I mean, the issues around clean air quality are equally as important as building new roads. And somehow or other, we've got to get things in position on a balanced manner to make sure those things are dealt with properly.
On to the next hot potato, which a lot of our readers are always raising with us, is the issue of Peel ports, and some people think the council are a bit too cosy with them. And a lot of people find them a very frustrating organisation to deal with. I mean, one of the ongoing issues now is the archaic toll bridge at Warrington, which they run, and it causes absolute traffic chaos for thousands of people, and they just don't seem to listen to the people. What sort of relationship do the council have with Peel ports, and do they listen to you? I mean, there's all the talk of painting the bridges, no sign of that happening.
No, you're all getting animated, aren't you, Gary, on this one? I mean, we have a very professional relationship with Peel. They're a major asset and landowner in the town. So as a council, we have to have a relationship with them. That relationship, as I stress, it is professional. On the issues you've raised on the Warburton toll bridge, we have met them. They have plans coming forward towards the back end of next year about modernising the collection arrangements for the bridge. We've spoken at length to them about the ship canal and the bridge swings, making sure those swings are minimised during peak hours. We're talking to them about Port Warrington, should actually take some transport lorries off the roads of Warrington. So we do have a relationship with them. We can't just sit in this office and ignore them, and they would ignore us. And as I say, it is very professional.
So there is ongoing dialogue, and these issues are being addressed.
Just painting of the bridges. Take one bridge, for instance, at Stockton Heath. Obviously, they are rusty, they look dilapidated, not a very good image of the town when people visit.
No.
But to paint the bridge is not an easy thing to do. It's not like painting your garden fence. We'd probably have to close the bridge to do so. So these things take time to plan, to minimise people's disruption. We just want to get it right.
Next hot potato, which has been rumbling on over the last year, the libraries. I mean, there was a lot of headlines written at the time when it all came out about the £300,000 savings that were needed, and 9 libraries set to close. You set up the working group. Let's face it, in reality, are any libraries likely to close?
Well, I decided to get involved in the middle of this, and I chaired the 10 public meetings that we had about the future of our libraries. And I think it's been a really positive experience. Yes, it was very negative at the start, but the energy that's been revealed about people's passion for libraries and using libraries as a space to other things in, such as health, post offices and other activities, has been really good to witness actually. So reports going to the Executive Board of the Council December the 11th, and a series of recommendations will be made by myself. Actually, I've written the report, and I can say to you my recommendation is none of our libraries should close. We want to see further investment in the libraries. We want to see further activities other than the core of a library, which is about reading and learning, to continue. And it'll be down to the politicians to whether or not they accept my recommendations.
Hopefully they will listen to you, because I mean, £300,000 seems a small drop in the ocean to keep libraries open in the whole grand scheme of things. I know we've got austerity, I know you've got to count every penny, but there's nothing more important than children reading books.
Absolutely, and people using libraries for all different sorts of purposes. That message came across to us loud and clear, but libraries should be used for other things, in my opinion, than just around reading and literacy.
And do you think this proposal, hopefully, if they listen to your recommendation to keep the libraries open, it will be sustainable moving forward?
Well, we're trying to build in sustainable principles. We need to spend some money on the book stock, and there's a recommendation around that. We need to actually repair some of our libraries that have had no investment to make them pleasant places to visit. So I'm hoping with a partnership route, which will continue if the right recommendations are accepted, that there will be a sustainable business model going forward for our libraries.
Well, that's a great positive from hopefully, if the exec board follow your recommendation. So I think while we're on the positive track now, we'll look at some of the other positives that have been happening, because, you know, I'm your critical friend. I'm here to praise the council as well as bring things to the fore when people don't think things are right. Amiga, I mean, all those years when you were at the development agency, we had the frustration of so much wanted to be done there and it wasn't happening. What a great success story it's been. You must be very proud of what's been achieved there now. Yeah,
very much so. I mean, 7,500 jobs in the last 3 years have been created at Amiga, and many of those jobs are for local people, which is why the council's mission has been about local jobs for local people. Yes, it's been really successful. It's brought other issues with it, such as, again, traffic issues around that area, which we are really working hard with our local enterprise partnership to address. So on the jobs front, it's been really good.
Absolutely. And another big positive is the Times Square development and the newly opened temporary market, which is a fantastic facility. And what an exciting time we can look forward to in the town centre. And the new multi-storey car park opening today, and free parking as well. The council have listened to the people.
Well, we do our best to listen to the people, but of course all these things have like a business case attached to them. I think Times Square will be tremendous when it's finished in 2019, 2020. They're getting on with it now, as you can see, the construction of the multiplex cinema and the associated leisure. Hopefully will change the image and profile and footfall of our town centre. The bottom half of Bridge Street needs a major lift. I'm being diplomatic when I say that. And I know that because I've swept up down there.
Well, yeah, I was going to say. Yes.
Which you caught me doing. Caught me doing one Friday afternoon. So I think all that's quite positive. And I have to say, Gary, we as a council have taken a risk on that. If we'd waited for the private sector to work with us, again, post-Brexit, it might have stalled. So we've taken the lead on that, and I think we deserve some credit for what we've done in that area.
Absolutely. That's why I brought it up, because I think it is a great project, and you know, I'm very proud of my hometown and Warrington and passionate about it. And you know, I love a good night out in Warrington town centre, and it's just going to get better. Right, well, I'll let you off the hook now, Stephen, on those positive notes. It's been great to catch up. But
thanks for a great year, Gary, of being our critical friend. I wish you and all of your viewers and your readers a great Christmas 2017, even better 2018.
Okay.
Thanks very much, everyone.
And I look forward to seeing you next year, all being well.
Thanks, Gary. Cheers.